Skyrim's map is incredibly detailed, containing hundreds upon hundreds of individual locations for the dragonborn to explore, ranging from larger, sprawling dungeons that take the player hours to complete, to smaller, sometimes unmarked locations that can be nothing more than an encampment on the side of the road or a long forgotten burial site. It is these smaller locations that I am going to cover in this video. I've pulled together 20 of my favourite and most memorable unmarked locations in Skyrim that help build the world that we still enjoy today. I hope you enjoy. First up in my list is a location that is not easy to get to, requiring you to climb the steep, snowy cliffs north of Solitude. On the snowbank close to the rock face are the remains of a skeleton who suffered quite a gruesome death. Judging by the staff propped up against a tree nearby, I'd wager this was a mage who faced off with some warriors. Probably a necromancer. The victors didn't trust that he'd stay dead, so they made quintuple sure. This poor fellow has a total of 5 weapons buried in him, 3 in his ribcage, 1 in his stomach, and a mace in his skull for good measure. There's also a light armour skill book here as well, which feels kind of ironic. Maybe the warriors dropped this on his corpse as they left as some kind of cruel joke. Suit up next time, buddy, and maybe you'll deflect a few blows. Skyrim is a gruesome place. Next on my list kind of proves that point, and now we're directly south of Solitude, west of the ruins of Folgunthor, and this is Skyrim in a nutshell. Here, towards Morthal Swamp's northwestern edge, is a rough campsite with an old, burned out fire and 2 horrific corpses. And this could be animal activity, but judging by Morthal's reputation, I would wager that this is vampires, possibly from the nearby lair of Movarth. The nearby pond and tree stumps in this area hold quite a few alchemy ingredients, and there is a restoration skill book inside one of the camps, although I think it's a little late for restoration magic. Another harsh reminder of how dangerous the wildlands of Skyrim are. We've travelled east now, and the next location on my list lies directly north of Forsaken Cave and northeast of one of the towers that leads to Blackreach. That's the Blackreach Tower down below. This is another not so easily reachable location, a tattered flag on top of the summit above Forsaken Cave. If you do manage to clamber up to the top, you'll find some levelled equipment and an apothecary satchel, along with some excellent views across the Yorgrim Basin. Turn your render distance high for this one. It's a little early in the morning currently, but I've taken a few screenshots from up here in the day and it is stunning. We all know the outpost of Septimus Cygnus, right? And no, this isn't the next location. If you do, you'll know how far north it is, one of the most northerly points in Skyrim, directly above the College of Winterhold. Well, the 4th unmarked location in my list is even further north still. Let's just say, if Skyrim was a real place, I would make sure you don't ever commit any crimes in Winterhold, because the soldiers here have come up with a very interesting and particularly cruel way of imprisoning wrongdoers. Let's just make it across the ice fields. Where we're going is this cluster of black rocks in the distance. And this is actually a cave system simply called the Chill. Let's take a look inside. It will be guarded by frost atronachs, so let's just deal with those. Right, look at this for a jail cell. It looks like some of the inmates have long been forgotten about. Now I would not want to be sent here. I think I'd go as far as to say I'd even take the smelly ratway over this. There's an abundance of food barrels in this location, which makes me think that they weren't just leaving prisoners here, they would have been preparing meals to keep them alive. If you do want to try these cells out for size though, commit a crime in Winterhold and be arrested, and you'll find yourself inside one quick enough. Looks like I've alerted the guards. Let's just ignore them for now because I want to climb up to the top to show you one last thing. Up here are a few gold ore deposits, if you are the mining type. But yeah, the Chill. Not a place I would ever want to wind up. Is this the most northerly location in Skyrim? It could well be. It's definitely up there. Staying in Winterhold for now, and this location is one I covered a long time ago in one of my earlier videos, but it's worth including in this list because it's both tragic and beautiful. This location sits between the glacial pathways south of the College of Winterhold. On the shoreline here you'll find two skeletons. The one closest to the water appears to have had its leg caught in a bear trap. The other shows no sign of injury other than the likelihood they succumbed to the bitter cold. But I always wonder here, why did they not leave and try and get help? Did they leave and come back? Or did they decide the injuries of the other were too great, and it best to stay? Next to this skeleton is a satchel with a few ingredients and an alchemy skill book. They're the only clues we know about these two unfortunate people. Were they simple alchemists on the hunt for ingredients, or were they students of the college wanting to gather some samples? Either way, it's a bittersweet scene, as it appears like one chose to stay with the injured friend, refusing to leave them in their final moments. A decision which ultimately cost them their life as well, and now they sit on the frozen banks together forever. Next on my list is a location I would wager most players have seen or at least heard of, but it's another worthy entry because of how famous it is. This one is located halfway between Frostflow Lighthouse and the ruins of Sarthal. This location is none other than the frozen mammoth, half encased in ice, too cold to decay. If you approach the mammoth you can harvest its snout, although I wouldn't recommend it. What I find most interesting about this location however are the weapons sticking out of its carcass. Now these could be passing adventurers using the mammoth as target practice, but if you look closely, all of the arrows are dwarven. And then these as well. These look like giant spears from a ballista. Again, these are definitely dwarven. You can tell by the markings on the head. It's the same markings on the arrow quiver as well. Now I'm actually using those so you can see them on my back as well. I don't know any adventurers firing dwarven ballistas. Could this mammoth have been down by the ancient Dwemer before quickly being encased in ice? Next up is an unmarked location that isn't too far from Old Hrodulf Inn, an inn I've covered a few times on this channel as it contains a few really interesting quests and lore points. Once here, if you head north through this pass here, and then carry on past the next tree, and then follow this path over the rocks and west. I'm going to stop here because there's usually a bear or some other predator in the area nearby, which I can't see currently. Oh yeah, there they are. Let's just take care of them. So this location is the scene of another tragedy. Here amongst the remote camp you'll find the corpses of Talva, the male, and then over here, strangely the female is referred to as Breton, but the journal nearby gives her name, Karan. The journal details her love for a poor Dunmer miner, Talva. Her father would never approve, so she plans to elope with him. It also details treasure in a nearby stump. The couple plan to meet here north of Hrodulf and then make for Riften together. Of all the scenes like this you find in Skyrim, this one I feel the most regret for, because this couple was snuffed out before they'd even had a chance. There is another bittersweet moment here though, which I think is testament to the attention to detail the writers gave this game. Once you've been here, come back in a couple of days' time. If you do, the campsite will be gone, all of the traces of blood have disappeared and the bodies have likely been buried or taken away. Instead, on the place where Karan lay, is a shrine of Mara, commemorating the lovers and their final resting place. I always wonder who left this here. Was it her father perhaps, who noticing Karan was nowhere to be seen at Hrodulf, led a search party in the area, and heartbrokenly discovered the pair shortly after? Now we find ourselves just north of the Shrine of Periite. If you travel west down the hills from here, you'll notice a small pool and what from a distance looks like someone taking a swim. As we approach, it becomes clear that this is not the case, however. This poor woman was having a soak in these waters when she was ambushed and killed by forsworn archers. Her effects are carefully placed on the grass next to the water, showing she made no attempt to escape. She probably didn't even know the forsworn were there until it was too late. But if you read her journal, you are given clues to how events unfolded here. This young woman had been here before, and seemingly caught by her father. He had warned her of the dangers of these areas, with forsworn about, but did she listen? I guess we know the answer to that question, and now this is just the scene of another untimely and tragic death. This is another location that isn't the easiest to get to, despite its relatively central location in Skyrim. Right now we are following the winding path south of Ivarstead in the eastern shadow of the Throat of the World. I deliberately came here at night because this location is a lot better at night. Notice the wisps floating around in the distance. We'll come to the source of those shortly. Along this path you will come across the remains of what looks like an old imperial toll building. And this place really is a ruin, there's hardly anything left at all. The only notable piece of loot is a conjuration skill book placed on top of a woven basket. But if you head south up the hill, you'll come across an old well and the source of the wisps. The first time I came here I didn't know about the Wispmother, but I travelled close enough to the well to awaken her. She might have given me a bit of a jump. On to number 10 now, and I don't really know how to describe this one. This one is just downright strange. I'm now at Sleeping Tree Camp in Whiterun Hold. If you travel north from this point towards the big rocky outcrop, eventually you'll come across a mammoth skeleton. All relatively normal, right? But take a closer look. There is a human skeleton inside the belly of this mammoth. Now my mind is telling me this mammoth skeleton was already here and was maybe used to hide a body by pushing them inside, or that it was part of some strange burial ritual. But I want to ignore all that though. It's far more fun to assume that a mammoth, a herbivore, ate a human whole. Past the halfway point now and we've moved across to East March. We're currently outside of Eldergrim Sanctuary, which is a location you'll know if you have completed the quest to heal the tree inside Whiterun. You need to come here to harvest sap from the tree. But anyway, from here we are going to turn west and travel through the trees to the Sulphur pools. Here we find more bathers, this time a group of 3 hunters. We've covered bathing in the waters of Skyrim recently. Have you guys not heard what happened to the young girl in the Reach? I feel obliged to maybe tell you if not. It looks like the liquor has been flowing here anyway. There is a smithing skill book to collect here as well, and you can do that without penalty.
Need something?
They aren't very chatty though. Maybe the booze is starting to wear off. They're more than happy to share that with you though, by the way. You can take that stuff free of charge. But don't touch their clothes or weapons though. Not if you want to start a rather comical fight. Oh, go on then.
Never should have come here.
Die, damn you!
Haha, what are you going to do now I've taken your weapons and clothes? No list of unmarked locations would be complete without including Lucky Lorenz. And if you don't know who Lucky Lorenz is, where have you been? This location is directly south of Cradle Crush Rock. Just follow the rivers which flow south and west. Down here you'll find the remains of a wooden shack, which has been, to put it lightly, absolutely destroyed by a falling tree. I hope no one was inside when this happened. Oh, this doesn't look good. No, this isn't good at all. Inside the surviving corner of the cabin is a shrine of Debella. It doesn't look like we can access the other side from here though, even in crouch mode. So let's try the other side. Here we go. So Lucky Lorenz was reading a copy of The Lusty Argonian Maid when he was hit by a £20,000 tree. What a way to go. Where has he gone though? I'm sure he used to be around here somewhere still. Ah, here we go. Not so Lucky Lorenz. He does have a lot of loot on him, but the main point of interest here is Treasure Map 9, which I do have a guide on the locations of all those on the channel if you need it. This is easily one of the most famous, but best unmarked locations in Skyrim, I think. We've now moved south into Falkreath and we currently stand facing Bannermist Tower. From here, if you turn east and head down the small hill, you'll notice a picturesque pond and waterfall with the remains of a deserted camp. On the log you'll find an alchemy skill book, and then further back is an apothecary satchel and a journal. The journal mentions our missing alchemist was looking into what was making the local flora in this area grow so plentiful, and then it gives you clues as to his whereabouts. Today I'll be heading downstream. Okay, let's head downstream then. First I'm going to stop these Nirnroot from chiming though. The stream eventually leads you to Evergreen Grove, a place patrolled by Spriggans, and in the pool below we receive a familiar answer. Resting atop a stone table you'll find the body of the alchemist. On his corpse you can gather a few alchemy ingredients, and he'll be clutching an alchemy skill book as well. Okay, now I need to get out of here so I don't become like him. Next up on my list is another strange location, and even stranger because it's not the only one in Skyrim. This is one of the locations that contains a ring of mushrooms, and I know of 2 of these in Skyrim, but there could be more if I don't know. This one I'm showing is east of Balgutch Mine, not too far from Hendrheim if you have the Anniversary Edition content installed. Not much else to say about this location. It's a ring of mushrooms, but not just one type of fungi either. You can find pretty much every type here I think. Or most of them at least. So if alchemy is your thing, you might want to check this place out as mushrooms are used in some really powerful potion recipes. Again, I'm left wondering, what was this place used for? A conjuration ritual maybe? I think it's most likely old witch activity, or maybe even Hargraven. Either way, it's a curious place. Next up we are climbing to a named location that I covered recently in a video on the channel. That is Froki's shack up in the mountains to the east of Autumnwatch Tower. I didn't mention this location last time as it isn't relevant to the quest that takes place here, but if you keep on climbing the mountain heading south, eventually you'll reach one of the more hidden shrines to Talos. Like most of the shrines around Skyrim, you can find various offerings here, receive the blessing, and read the two-handed skill book that is placed. I more just enjoy how remote this location feels. It's so peaceful and quiet up here, and in either direction you feel so far removed from anything in Skyrim. Continuing east across the Gerald mountain range, we arrive at the next unmarked location on our journey. This one can be found directly south of Broken Helm Hollow. This is the burning farmhouse of Riften. This isn't the only burning building in Skyrim, and my immediate thought when I first found this location was dragon attack. Inspecting the abode more carefully though, it becomes apparent this is not the case. Inside the doorway to the left is a chest with random loot inside, so make sure you check that out first of all. If you now take a look around the interior, you'll notice a few clues that point to magic being the cause of this tragedy. Next to the burnt corpse of the assumed farm owner, we have a scroll of Summon Flame Atronak. Then in the corner we have a summoning circle. Don't do your magic at home, kids, especially not fire magic inside a building made of wood. Rule 101. On to number 17 now, and this is probably my favourite of the lot in this list. It's certainly one of the strangest, and one location that I discovered for the first time very recently. To find this location, first head to Gearman's Hall, and then cross the water to the south. The reason I'm approaching this location from this way is because I want to use the steep rocks as cover. It's important we remain hidden as we approach, and you'll see why very soon. I honestly can't believe I only just found out about this, because this unmarked location is just so weird. Where is he? Okay, here we are. Pay attention to what is happening here. This necromancer is praying or performing some sort of ritual at this bone altar here to resurrect his chickens. Now as soon as the player is spotted, the ritual works and his poultry springs to life. He will attack, so quickly dispose of him. So one chicken died, but this one actually stayed alive. And if you check his corpse, you'll find a conjuration skill book as well as a chicken's egg, obviously. And then if you check the altar, we've got some ingredients here as well. There's another chicken egg here. This altar is so strange though, it even has a chicken's nest in the centre of it. I don't know why, but this area just reminds me of the random event mage who is casting a spell and sends himself catapulting into the air. It's just so random, and I love these events in Skyrim. 3 more locations for you in my list, and we've moved over to Solstheim now. This is another location that is slightly comedic in approach, and to find this one, head directly south of the Abandoned Lodge. The Abandoned Lodge sits on the divide across the centre of Solstheim that separates the northern frozen area and the southern ashy area. If you head south from here, you'll eventually find a small mining encampment. The poor miner who was working here, or at least one of the miners, has somehow been crushed by the weight of the ore he was transporting. I've no idea how that happens, but it has. But you know, His loss is our gain, right? He was transporting some high value stuff here, quite a lot of gold ore. And then you can also find an emerald on this table along with a few meads and a pie. And then in the strongbox I found another gemstone. Sorry buddy, I guess this is ours now. Oh, and finally, I almost forgot, there are 2 emerald geode deposits here as well. Penultimate location on this list now, and this is an area of Solstheim that most players probably know about. What we are looking at here is Hrodulf's house. The reason why I say this location is probably more familiar is because it lies on the southern coastline that runs from Ravenrock, over here, down past the farm, Fort Frostmoth, and finally Tel Mithrin. So if you've done any of the main events here on Solstheim, you've probably travelled past this house. This location is probably more famous for the mess that it is found in. The house is in ruin, half of one side is missing and the ash spawn have taken over. Now I originally thought maybe this is how Hrodulf met his end, sadly taken by the ash spawn. But there's a location down here that I noticed recently that made me realise that this is not the case. I'll just deal with the burnt Spriggan first. At the shoreline here you'll find significant amounts of blood on the sand, along with a broken axe head and handle. There's also a strongbox, an apothecary satchel and a chest. Now I was hoping to find a journal of some sort that would give more clues, or even a body, but sadly there was neither. But I did look online however, and apparently there should be a body here, a body belonging to Hrodulf. I don't know why this isn't the case for my save, but I tried on 2 of the saves as well, and every time there was blood but no body, but others report he is there. So yeah, I guess I finally know what happened to poor Hrodulf. The 20th and final location in my list now, and this is one of the most remote locations in both Skyrim and Solstheim combined. To find this location, first head to Frostle. You'll find this in the far northeast of the island. From here you'll notice there are 3 small islands to the north and northwest on the map. The one we want to head to is the one directly north. This isn't the only strange location here by the way. That island over there contains a group of friendly Reekling. But it's this island here we are interested in now. On closer approach we see that the island is guarded by Spriggans, and judging by the boat moored up, someone has beaten us here. Inside the boat you'll find a chest containing random loot, and there's also an East Empire Company strongbox. I do have a video on the locations of all of those, and finally there is a knapsack and some gold. Let's check out the island though. I'm going to deal with the Spriggans first, so bear with me. Now they're dealt with, let's locate the unfortunate alchemist who arrived here before us. So what is strange about this island? Why have I included it in my list? Well, it's these things. This location is home to 6 enormous Nirnroot, and each plant yields 3 Nirnroot samples. Why are they so large? There aren't any others like this in Skyrim that I'm aware of. Well, I had to actually look this up. Apparently it's an Easter egg referencing something in Oblivion, where 4 plants are found between Skingrad and Kvatch that are the size of a fully grown person. So strange. And that is the end of my list of 20 of my favourite and most memorable unmarked locations in Skyrim. How many of these did you know about? Are there any that you like that I didn't include in my list? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Mike the Gaming Dad, thank you for watching my video and I'll see you next time.